I got no sound if anyone's talking. The Zoom on the desk needs to be unmuted.
You hear us now, Martin?
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead, John.
So we didn't get started till this first part of the year, February, March. People aren't holding, suppliers weren't holding their prices. They're still not today. Anyhow, so from October till March, April, May, June this year, we've had an estimate. We had the estimates come in, and that's what we subjected our contract to. But when the actual invoices came in, they come in $53,219.70 higher, and that's what I'm asking for in the modification to contract 22-159.
Motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Carol to increase the contract 22-159 to increase it by $53,219. Second by Ellie. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, show of hands. Can't see. I think it's unanimous. Len? Well, 7-4, Len out of the room. Motion approved.
Thank you.
Yep. Jimmy, are you on now?
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You bet.
Tom, can you look in the chat from Two Teeth really quick?
Where am I here? Oh yeah, easy peasy, we can do that. Yeah, Len was looking for approval for change of duty station for those employees that are attending the Veterans Ceremony in Washington, D.C. The employees are Lawrence Kim Mill, Marianne Teast, and Jim Adams. Is the council consensus to grant them change of duty station? Consensus granted? Okay.
Mr. Chair, can we grant that for MVP? Aren't they union?
Veterans deal. Did you know that?
Sorry, Martin, I couldn't quite hear you.
He didn't put you in.
Can I'll just put it in the chat.
Okay. Oh, if they're MVP employees, I think it's the same condition with their immediate supervisor approval. So it filters first through us, then fine filter through them. So it'll still be conditioned on MVP's approval, but our approval also. For 1 day. Okay. 1 day last week. All right, what do we have next?
You guys want to take a quick break while I start getting everybody rounded up?
Okay, heard them up. Take a 10-minute break. Good morning.
Good morning, Council. I'm here to present a resolution, which was a rescinded resolution. So it's a correction to the legal description and the totaling acres. Oh, on the Plum Creek holding, which is a finalized sale, it's just a correction.
Carol?
I'll make a motion that we rescind. Is there a rescind?
Rescinding already happened, so this
Okay.
is the
So I'll make-
corrected resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution, the purchase of fee land located in Lake County. That's a pretty big area. Plum Creek,
Mhm.
Bowling.
Thank you, Carol. Motion by Carol to approve the resolution authorizing the purchase of fee land in Lake County. Second by Ellie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn? Go ahead, Lynn.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and the rest of the council. My presentation date, my packet's 18, pages 18 through 22. My presentation starts on page 19. Thank you. So Mark Thompson, tribal member, has approached the tribe with an interest in selling a portion of his parcel and trust that's along Post Creek. The entire parcel is about 40 acres. The acquisition will be in the neighborhood of 20 acres. We haven't surveyed it or anything like that yet. We would be acquiring potentially 1,200 feet of both sides of Post Creek, which is awesome. And this property does qualify for BPA resident fish mitigation funding. If you go to the next slide. So the parcel is just west of Hillside Road. We have parcels both upstream. You can see that one with the lines across it just north. We have actually two parcels there, only one showing up. And of course, downstream in section 13 there, we recently just acquired Joe McDonald's allotment. So we have other parcels in the area, which so we're starting to block up quite a bit of Post Creek here. If you can go to the next slide, I've got an aerial photo. That kind of shows that the west portion there outlined in yellow is what we're potentially acquiring. So the seller would retain his structures and everything along Hillside Road there. And obviously we're going to need him to grant us some sort of access to the parcel as well. So today what I'm requesting is that council express interest in acquiring this parcel so that staff can begin due diligence. And although it's trust, sometimes we do enter into a buy-sell, but council will approve, entering into negotiations and potentially a buy-seller agreement to purchase property at fair market value using BPA resident fish mitigation funding should negotiations prove successful.
Thank you, Lynn. Any questions for Lynn? Great property. Go ahead, Carol.
What, how many acres?
It will be in the neighborhood of 20 acres. Once we do
Okay,
due diligence, I'll get a surveyor out there.
okay, and
Motion.
the other question I have is regarding the sale from the Larsons to this lady. And you
The
said,
Lar-
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Actually, the Larson property has been, that's been one I've been trying to get for years. The Larsons were fickle, and then they sold it to another seller who expressed interest, and they actually said they wanted to sell, and then they backed out of wanting to sell. So that one just keeps getting within my fingertips, and then it disappears again. So hopefully someday we'll get the Larson piece, but it's probably not going to be within the next 12 months.
Oh, okay, I was confused. I thought the Larsons originally owned this property and then wouldn't sell to us and then sold it to this individual. Sometimes they work things like this out to, I think, make money off of us, but I just wondered. Now I got the clarification. Thank you.
I agree. Yeah, that's my fault. I had submitted 2 issue briefs, but had to pull one at the last minute, so.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, or did I?
Motion by Carol to show interest in the Thompson parcel and to also approve entering a buy-sell agreement to purchase the property using BPA resident fish mitigation funding.
Thank you.
Motion by Carol, second by Ellie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? I saw Martin's hand move, so unanimous. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you, Lynn. Okay, what's up next?
Randy, and he is online.
Okay. Morning, Randy.
Morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. I have 2 council requests this morning, and the first one, my pages are from 23 to 52, and starting on page 24, to give you some background, we received a request from EPA. Let me share my screen first. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. We received a request from EPA, which is kind of not typical. And they asked us to submit under the American Rescue Plan to apply for assistance under EPA's air quality program. They didn't provide any sideboards, and so we recently were in need of a vehicle, and what I submitted was an application with a budget to get a vehicle and some new sensor equipment. And then they came back with sideboards and said that actually purchasing a vehicle was not part of what they had intended. And so we reduced we reduced our application and resubmitted, and we were awarded a grant for the purchase of 2 pieces of equipment that we had gotten a quote from a vendor called 2B Technologies. The amount of the equipment was totaled to be $22,750. And so this morning I am asking for permission to go ahead and purchase that equipment under this new EPA grant that we have received.
Motion by Martin to approve the purchase of the equipment. Second by Carol. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the equipment purchase, raise their hands. Unanimous?
Thank you. The second request is on another EPA grant. This is for purchase of a 4x4 vehicle for the air quality program. This is titled a multi-purpose grant. It's separate from the first one that I presented. This will be going under our performance partnership grant with EPA. So the approval of the grant funds was strictly just to purchase a vehicle, not to exceed the amount of $38,367, which as you might be able to guess, is not enough to purchase a brand new vehicle. So we had to go back and make an ask EPA if it is possible to buy a used vehicle. And since they had not stipulated new or used, they agreed that it would be possible for us to buy a used vehicle. I'm gonna move down farther in my application. This is the work plan that we submitted. The sole component being this purchase of this air quality vehicle. And they awarded this grant to us on September 1st. And supporting document is the final email. From Justin Bleiler of the EPA. So what I'm asking for this morning is permission to purchase under capital equipment a vehicle not to exceed the purchase price or the purchase amount of the grant that's been awarded.
Motion by Ellie to authorize the purchase of a vehicle not to exceed $38,367. Second by Martin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you. Travel safe? Okay. Okay, Jen, who's up next?
We have Dave, but he's trying to log on with his team for the Glacier Park.
Oh,
So I
Glacier
don't know
Park.
if you guys had any more executive items that you need to discuss.
No, just that what Martin was just talking about was the the same group that kind of helped host the Wenatchee effort with BC mining issues. They're having a what they call a fly-in event, so they can promote that topic with congressional delegates and staff in Washington, D.C. Put pressure on whoever, State Department, whoever we can, make it more of a upfront national issue with the border with Canada. So really, to me, it's a boundary treaty issue, water thing that they need to step up and do. But they're going to go, walk the streets and meet a few people. And when we were in Wenatchee, that foundation, the wildlife, whoever the main sponsor was, they were shooting interviews with different participants that were there those 2 days, and that's going to be their film was going to be part of their talking points. So they asked me if it was okay to use my footage. I said, well, absolutely. You're going that low, go for it. But they will be using the documentary they produced as a major point for them. And they're asking, Aaron Sexton and Rich Jansen are gonna go to DC, and they wanted to know if there was a council rep in line to go also. I said no. Good. They are, that's coming, that's that same week, December 5th and 6th. There'll be folks in Portland. That one's actually probably a good one to go to, or at least virtually. That's the for the Columbia River Treaty. Yeah, yeah. The other one's a greater, the whole U.S.-Canada treaty, boundary treaty water. Anyway, that's what Martin was talking about. That interview? I don't know. I've never seen it. How did I don't. Oh, yeah, I felt fine about the interview. Yeah. If it came out of my mouth, I meant it. Sue me. I mean, I was very brutal about British Columbia. I was absolutely brutal. I did. I went Tom Jack on him. Yeah. I mean, come on, the place is corrupt. It's absolutely corrupt, and I'm going to say that. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's just, okay, sue me for slander. I don't care. You guys are corrupt. Go ahead, Jen.
David is on, but it looks like he does not have his audio. So if you can hear us, David, if you're on a phone, you're gonna have to *6 to speak, or go down to your left corner and join the audio so you can start the audio if you're on your PC.
Okay, David, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry for my technical problems over here, but I think I've got it worked out now.
Oh yeah, we hear you very well. Looks like you're in your car. Yeah.
Great. Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me. I want to be respectful of the council's time. So let me know how much time we have, but I was hoping just to introduce myself and talk to you a little bit about how our managed access program has been going at Glacier.
Oh yeah, go
And
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, thanks. I'm the new superintendent since July. I'm Dave Romer, and I'm back in Montana. I was University of Montana for my grad school. I've been in the Park Service for almost 30 years now. The last 10 years I spent at Redwood National and State Parks. And one of the most exciting areas to work, I think, in park management is working with tribes, working with the original stewards of the lands that the Park Service is entrusted to manage, and working cooperatively. And so I really look forward very much to exploring new ways that we can work together, and engage the Confederated Taos and Kootenai tribes and the Blackfeet in what we do at Glacier, and people telling their own stories, and making it a better cared for park and a better park experience. I'm glad it's snowing now and things are slowing down a little bit. Being here in July and the summer has been quite a bit of a rush. But one of the things that we're doing, and I know that Kate Hammond has spoken with Chairman McDonald back in February about this, is managed access through vehicle reservations, and trying to provide for visitors the kinds of experiences that people expect in a national park. Not traffic congestion, white knuckles on the road, and no parking anywhere that they go, and also protect resources. And we've been doing this, of course, because visitation has been growing greatly in the Flathead Valley and in Glacier National Park. I think Glacier is the #1 destination for visitors to Northwest Montana. And the airport's expanding, the home population is growing, and certainly Glacier has been discovered. We're not the only park that's going through this. In fact, just last week I was in Denver meeting with my colleagues from Arches and Rocky Mountain, and Zion, and then other parks east and west are experiencing similar levels of record growth, visitation, and the need to go to a managed access system so that the parks don't get jammed up. Yosemite and Acadia, to mention one from each coast. We've been doing vehicle reservations at Glacier since 2021. We piloted that project only on going to the Sun Road. In 2022, we added the North Fork, which is not a heavily visited area, but just a little bit of visitation really makes a difference there because it's a very rural and rustic experience in the North Fork. And we've been trying to learn from visitors, from visitor surveys, from members of the community, from our business partners in and around Glacier, and from our own employees who have been really run through the ringer with all the visitation they were having. So we're trying to provide a less stressful experience for everyone, visitors and employees alike. And I think community participation in what we're doing is really key. It certainly benefits us when visitors arrive at the park having heard somewhere about managed access and vehicle reservations. And I know that they're getting their information a lot through the websites of chambers of commerce and other partners in Northwest Montana. We ended our 2022 vehicle reservations on September 11th this year. During the whole summer, we did see a slight decrease in visitation from 2021, although not as great as I think the region as a whole experienced. Regionally, they were looking at about a 20% decline in visitation, and we were seeing monthly maybe about a 5% to at most 10% decline in actual visitors coming to the park, which tells us that Glacier is still very, very popular and everyone wants to get there. Doing vehicle reservations hasn't been easy because we don't really have the infrastructure to support our ways of greeting visitors and checking for their vehicle reservations, letting them know what their options are to visit the park if they don't have a Going to the Sun Road pass. So a lot of our employees and volunteers have been spending all day out there in traffic safety vests, working among the cones and the cars, talking to visitors. And we do talk to every visitor that we turn away who doesn't have a pass. And last summer, that reached as many as, say, 400, maybe almost 500 people at the peak would come to us not having a vehicle reservation for those core hours. Of course, our vehicle reservations only operate from 6 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. So many of those visitors came back at 4 and then went back up to the Sun Road. The data that we collect show that we've been able to influence visitor patterns and distribute visitors more evenly through the park through vehicle reservations, with some exceptions. If you're looking at the number of entries per hour or the number of vehicles at any one time on the Going to the Sun Road, we've reduced the peak that used to occur without any managed access. And that difference is one that generally the feedback we hear is that the people that are in the park are finding a parking space. They're not jockeying for a parking spot forever at Logan Pass. They still might find Logan Pass closed and some other popular areas, but there's still some space within the corridor for people to enjoy a bit of a park experience away from their vehicles. So we've been able to reduce that peak of visitation and avoid the unanticipated closures that we had to do in 2019 and 2020 when the road got too jammed up. We have created something of an artificial peak before the road reservation system opens and then after. So at 4 p.m., there's a peak when everyone's lining up to go in without that vehicle reservation. In 2021, we had a similar peak at the beginning of the day at 6 a.m. We didn't have that in 2022 because there was road construction on the Going to the Sun Road. And so there was no access before our managed access system hours began. And that's probably good for wildlife. We don't want to be deliberately pushing drivers onto the road at dawn and dusk. That's less safe for them and less safe for wildlife. I'll just go for a few minutes more and then pause. One of the things that we've noticed with vehicle access and managing the Going to the Sun Road corridor and the North Fork is that visitors have been driving around and entering Many Glacier and Two Medicine Valleys at greater levels than they had been previously. As a result of that, we've had vehicle closures at Many Glacier. It happened almost 60 times this year, where the valley got too jammed up with cars and we had to swing a gate. And those closures would last for about 2.5 hours until enough vehicles left that we could admit people into the park again. The same thing happened at Two Medicine. It happened almost 25 times. And we believe that's a result of people seeking an entry to the park in the middle of the day when they don't have a vehicle reservation for Going to the Sun Road. Just backing up for summer as a whole, we had a late start with spring and spring rain and snow that lasted until June. We didn't open Going to the Sun Road at the very top all the way across for through traffic until July 13th. We've had some campgrounds that were closed due to staffing shortages. We've had construction in various areas of the park that have also been affecting visitor visits. And knock on wood, it was a pretty mellow fire season. So I'm grateful for that, for my first summer here, not being challenged with a large fire that would put people's at risk or put our significant assets at risk. And all in all, it felt like a busy season. Now that it's winter, the park really closes up faster than I could have known. It seemed like even in the peak of the summer, there were notices on the lodges of Xanterra and other places telling their employees that it was almost time to pack up and go home. And I was like, we're just getting started, but it really does drop off very fast. We've got snow on the ground now that I'm sure is going to last through the winter. We do have winter camping at Apgar and also at St. Mary in just some of the loops. It's primitive camping. And unlike prior years where the road along Lake McDonald is pretty popular with skiers and snowshoers, we're doing a large construction project from Apgar Visitor Center all the way up to North Lake McDonald, installing a new sewer line, new electrical and communications utilities. And so that road is completely closed. And we are paving a greater area in the Apgar Visitor Center parking lot so that winter recreationists can head to the west along Camas Road and Fish Lake. Looking ahead for 2023, we anticipate that our managed access is going to look similar to 2022 and 2021. We would plan to keep going to the Sun Road and the North Fork under managed access vehicle reservations available on rec.gov. There's still going to be road construction on going to the Sun Road from Apgar to Lake McDonald. That's going to be a big factor in 2023. We're resurfacing finally that whole section of road, finishing the last bit of the big reconstruction project of going to the Sun Road. It'll be open, but there'll be 30-minute traffic delays. We'll be piloting people through that section of the road. And I think there's going to be as many as 100 trucks a day moving in and out of the construction site for the removal of asphalt, the reconditioning of the road surface, and then the repaving. When we're done, by November, though, of 2023, we'll have a good road surface. It'll be closer to the shoulders in elevation, so the road will be safer. So we're just hoping to bite the bullet and get that project done as soon as we can. Some of the unanswered questions about managed access for next year is going to be first on the west side, where to do our filter station operations. We have been filtering at headquarters, which doesn't permit visitors to travel to Apgar Visitor Center or to Apgar Village, and doesn't permit access to our shuttle system. So we'd like to flip that script and provide access to a shuttle in the visitor center in Apgar Village and do our filtering just for going to the Sun Road corridor. That may increase congestion at Apgar Village and at the visitor center. But last year on the east side, we moved our filter station beyond the visitor center to Rising Sun. And we think people were a lot happier with that, employees and visitors both. Giving people access to a visitor center, access to get onto a shuttle, really didn't close any area of the park, made it available for people. Another big question is whether or not we're going to extend managed access to Two Medicine and Many Glacier. And so we're having a series of stakeholder meetings. The main reason I wanted to meet with you today is to hear your ideas and input on how our managed access program is going, and if any of these ideas for 2023 sound good, bad, somewhere in between, and to hear your ideas for that. With that, I just want to say thank you for your time today. I'm looking forward to a lot more engagement with the Confederated Salish and Kootenai. What we can do together to make park experiences more authentic and real, and where we can blend the natural and cultural worlds is such an important part of park management nowadays. And I feel very fortunate that I'm coming into my leadership in the Park Service at the same time that our park leaders are Indigenous, that we have Chuck Sams leading the Park Service, Deb Holland leading the Department of Interior. They're very committed to giving me as a manager the tools and the support that I need to explore new avenues of co-stewardship with tribes that have such important connections, ancestral territory of these parks that we now manage. So thank you. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you.
Well, thank you, Dave, and welcome to your new post. Wish you the best and the most success. Of course, Glacier has been part of my entire life. It's a very important place. And so, council, you have any particular questions? Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, Dave, it's really nice to meet you. I was wondering, this ticket entry, is that just for the national parks in Montana?
It is just for Glacier.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and I
Okay.
neglected to say, but it's very important to say that tribal members have access without vehicle reservations all the time to Glacier.
Because I actually used this in California, and I gave the guy my tribal ID in national park and said, you know, in Montana, we have free entry into the national parks. And I gave him my tribal ID, and he looked at it and said, well, that's a great concept. He said, here, go ahead and go through. But yeah, I thought it was nationally, all parks.
All parks have that strong encouragement and direction, and sometimes it comes down to a matter, I think, of whether or not we've trained our seasonal employees or volunteers that may be staffing the fee booths as to the importance of that policy. And my direction to staff at Glacier, and I'm sure this is true for Cam at Yellowstone and the other parks in Montana, is that we don't even need to check tribal identification cards, and we're not going to distinguish between someone with a direct ancestral tie to Glacier or someone who's a tribal member from a recognized tribe elsewhere in the country. It's broad, and that's how it should be.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, so Carol, I have a Golden Age passport pass that also gets me in any park. It's a lifetime pass. It's a great,
That's right.
great benefit for seniors. You are so young looking, you know, people are not going to let you in. You know. But the Golden Age passport, I think that's what it's called, Dave. It's good, good for these federal facilities in the entire United States. So you get out of region, you know, you can whip out that. It's for anybody in your car. It's a car entry system, so that's a good tool. That was a question that when we assumed the bison range, there was a lot of folks, because the bison range used to be part of that system. And for the Golden Age passport, whether we were going to honor that Golden Age passport as a former federal facility. Of course, we couldn't because we didn't get any of the revenue from it. And so we'd be looking forward to our own senior citizen discounts, that kind of stuff. So yeah, Dave, you know, I got a couple of questions for you. And so, you know, as was mentioned before, and just so you know, I was on the years and years ago, I was on the FACA committee for the rebuild of the Golden Sun Highway, on that by Senator Max Baucus, and spent some interesting time with all the issues of Golden Sun Roadway and trying to figure out how to keep it open and rebuild it at the same time. And so we had a lot of different concepts on how to do that. And so I want to refresh you on one that I still think is a viable concept that deals with how you move more traffic, how you were able to manage that road in a different way, spread the economic wealth of it through the entire greater area. And so the one proposal that we had, both myself and the Blackfeet representative that was on the FACA committee, was to make that a one-way route. And the entry system would be in West Glacier, and then you just go over the top and come down through the Browning side. One-way traffic system allows, so much easier, less stressful driving, but it also increases dramatically the availability of parking at any given spot along that scenic highway. So was that a change of the integrity of the scenic highway? I don't think so, but it sure seemed like a viable solution to deal with so many issues with that roadway. And I don't know if that's still something you would consider or not.
Yeah, it's, I don't think it's something that we could get away with piloting in 2023. But we are also doing long-term planning, in which I would say all ideas like that can be considered and should be on the table. We need to do something to alleviate the congestion, to improve visitor experiences. And your suggestion also sounds to me like one that would be better at distributing some of the benefits of visitation on east and west of the park both.
Well, the other unique thing that provided was also the increased availability of potential pedestrian or bicycle traffic year-round for the entire route for those people. I know that you're probably seeing more people using bicycles now with the electric assist. So it becomes more feasible to actually do that on a bicycle for people that aren't, Olympic athletes on a bicycle. So you think about your carbon footprint on going to the Sun Highway, and if it's a good day, why wouldn't you allow people in July to take their bicycle up that route? And maybe through a one-way system, you're dedicating bike paths along with motor vehicle pathways. So just one of those considerations. The other thing is there a parking pass requirement for Logan?
There isn't a parking pass requirement, and so everyone that is able to come in can park wherever. And as a result, as you're probably familiar, usually by 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning, Logan Pass will have its first time that it's filled, and it stays pretty congested throughout the day until the end of the day.
Yeah, I just wondered if it wouldn't be, if maybe you could scope out at least designating part of the parking lot that would be timed parking only. Or you have those folks that need a parking permit for the entire day, need to park up there. That would be a way you could manage that parking lot by knowing how many people are going to be up there at the beginning of the day and be there all day. Just manage that parking lot, because that seems to be one of the most displeasurable things of going to the Sun Highway, is dealing with Logan Pass parking lot, just for sanitation purposes, if nothing else.
Yeah.
When I talk about the carbon footprint, it seemed to me that I couldn't quite identify from Glacier National Park on what they were doing to reduce their carbon footprint. Do you have any strategies, or what are your strategies for this scenic drive?
A lot of it, I'm afraid, is nibbling at the edge of the problem. There are improvements that we're trying to make in our government fleet towards energy conservation. We've been slowly retrofitting the red buses to something that is more energy efficient, but I don't think we're going to make a dent at a large scale with little measures like that. We're doing some other things around our facility management and energy usage, such as installing rooftop solar, trying to get our fleet started with electric fleet for our vehicles, and having some energy conservation systems on some of our buildings around headquarters that are actually pretty good. And then the power that we buy from Flathead Electric Cooperative is, I believe, 97% renewable, hydro. But as to the big question of, all of the vehicles that visitors drive up and over the road, we haven't made a dent in that yet. So I would say we're sort of passively encouraging people to get on shuttles and to be energy aware. But those changes seem to be more than, it's more what's happening in the national fleet and miles per gallon and things like that. It's not something that we're deliberately trying to change.
Is there any consideration that you would have incentives to visitors that drive electric vehicles or vehicles of high, really low gas consumption?
It's a possibility. I can imagine a future where all the parking at Logan Pass is for, EV charging vehicles only. And
Let's do it. Let's do it.
that'd be a wonderful way to incentivize, if nothing else, the car rental fleet in Kalispell. But yeah, I'm very open to ideas like that, and I've met a few times with our parks green team, and I've been looking for some sustainability goals that we can put into actually into my work plan for my boss in Denver to try to commit to. And so I hope that the time is ripe that we'll be able to make some progress on that.
Are you, in your present work plan, do you have charging stations being put in?
We're going to be putting in the first charging stations at headquarters, I think this summer, with a big asphalt project that we're doing in our administrative area. And I think that Xanterra has a charging station at North McDonald. I'll have to check on that. I may be incorrect on that. It's not as visible as I would have thought, coming from Northern California to here. I was like, wow, where's all the charging stations? So I think in some ways, maybe we're still at the leading edge of that, but I hope we can help to usher in that infrastructure.
Dave, here's what I can say to you is we lead by example, and as you said, you are the dominant feature for outdoor recreation in Western Montana. And so what you provide and how you role model it is very critical for the future of this planet and the future of that park where it has diminishing glaciers. And I'm not telling you anything new, but I would just encourage Glacier National Park to do everything they can to make sure that we're reducing our carbon footprint. And that's, providing, EV charging stations at Logan Pass and every place, every facility that should be the standard. And I would expect no less. I really love the idea of your expanding the shuttles, getting more people on shuttles. I mean, give them that option, give them a choice. I mean, a lot of people can't afford, real high mileage, high energy consumption vehicle or electric vehicle. They just can't afford it. So if they have a choice to jump on a shuttle, given a shuttle vehicle, given any type of ongoing pandemic needs, they might do that, and it gives them that choice. So it's nice to be able to have every visitor come into the park have a choice on how they might be able to reduce their individual carbon footprint. Jumping on a shuttle, bringing their electric vehicle, driving their 50-mile-gallon hybrid or whatever it might be. I'd love to see that. I just really discourage when I go on the park road and I'm looking at a 8-cylinder gas guzzler up on top. It's very frustrating to think of that. And they're up here looking at these glaciers that are melting away and they're driving their SUV gas guzzler. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, get off my high horse and get off that. The issue that we had when the ticketed entry system happened is it's like when you manage a facility and all of a sudden everybody has that expectation and then you close the door on them. Where do they go? They're still here. They're looking for some place. And so what I would really hope that the park could do is plan those alternative places that they might be able to go regionally, where we could take and absorb some of that capacity. still providing a very meaningful experience to the visitors of Montana and enhancing their native people knowledge and native flora and fauna knowledge base while they're here. So we welcome people coming to the Bison Range. We absolutely do. But we'd like to do is have that coordinated effort with you when you're meeting with those people, those 500 or 400 people you're turning away. What is that message you're telling them and where you're telling them to go? We would just really love to be able to coordinate that with you.
Yeah, that sounds great. We should talk some more about that. And our messaging and our filtering is still not fixed for next year. And one of the challenges we've had with filtering, and when we have those conversations with visitors that aren't able to get in, is that we're not having that conversation with them at a place where they also have internet access. And so sometimes it's hard to offer the full range of options to people that they might have had if, say, they had really researched that topic back at their hotel rooms with a good connection. You know how things are.
Yeah, absolutely. My final item that I wanted to mention is just engaging our youth, our tribal youth here, and getting them to the park resources more frequently and being able to provide that to them. We used to have a pretty good program back in the day when we could afford it. Some unique funding where we took a lot of our tribal youth to hiking trips and campovers and just a lot of things in Glacier. And we've just struggled with that in more recent times. So we would love to be able to partner with your staff on and getting some of our youth into the park more frequently, having a greater exposure to the landscape that's part of their traditional landscape. So we would look forward to anything you might have in regard to that.
Yeah, that sounds really good. It'd be delighted to have some conversations with you and see what we can think of and do.
All right. Anything else from council? I guess not. Dave, it's great to meet you. Thank you for being on.
Likewise, thank you so much, Chairman McDonald and the council. I really appreciate your time today and look forward to more conversations and work together.
You bet. Any suggested field trips, we'd love to do that too. I mean, I like to get our representatives out in the field and look at the issues and look at the landscape as much as possible. So any opportunity for that, Dave, we would appreciate.
Sounds wonderful. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Legal is next and they want to go in executive.
All right.
Mr. Chair, before we do that,
Pardon? Go ahead, Martin.
I just wanted to do a quick plug for the powwow. I know we got a lot of stuff going on Saturday, but the Veterans Day powwow is this Saturday. I believe grand entry is at 1 and 7. So after we watch the Bulldogs win a state championship, let's go up and support the powwow in the evening. Thank you.
All right. Indeed. Thank you, Martin.
Oh, and after the Cats the Grizz beat the Cats.
Yeah. Okay. Carol? Yeah, you want a quick break? Okay, 5-minute break? Or you down? We're in executive.